honor to be a member of the Lucasfilm family, and I want to thank you for making me a part of film history, not to mention a Pez dispenser.
George Lucas is a name that commands respect in Hollywood.
And obviously, I was not happy with Hollywood.
The mastermind behind Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Industrial Light and Magic revolutionized cinema and became one of the wealthiest filmmakers in history.
Pick kind of one direction to go, that would be the generic, and then we can make variations off of that.
I sort of like this one.
This one here? Okay.
But behind the galaxy of success lies a trail of burnt bridges, bitter feuds, and scathing criticism from some of entertainment's biggest names.
Is there one phone call that changed your life?
George Lucas called me up and he said, I've got a script I'm going to send up to your house. I want you to read it and go over to Steven Spielberg's house. And
from the very beginning, Lucas's uncompromising vision clashed with Hollywood traditions. His infamous dialogue became the target of merciless mockery. His rigid directing style frustrated legendary actors, and his business decisions left some feeling betrayed and exploited. What started as creative differences evolved into full-blown public disputes that would define relationships for decades. Academy Award winners called his work rubbish. Leading men insulted him to his face.
As the creator of Mara Jade,
Wait! I am not the creator of Mara Jade, and I want you to get out of this office right now.
And even his own Princess Leia branded him a sadist in front of industry elites. The man who created Darth Vader somehow managed to make real-life enemies just as memorable as his fictional villains. Today, we're counting down 7 celebrities who couldn't hide their disdain for George Lucas. From frustrated actors who begged to change his appalling dialogue to corporate executives who rejected his vision entirely. Their stories reveal the surprising dark side of Hollywood's most beloved creator. 7. Mark Hamill. You'd think Luke Skywalker would have nothing but praise for the man who launched him to stardom.
He is extremely enthusiastic about everything he does, and that's exactly what I was looking for when I was looking for Luke Skywalker.
But Mark Hamill's relationship with George Lucas has been surprisingly complicated from day one. When Hamill first read his test lines for Star Wars, he assumed it was a send-up of Flash Gordon and didn't understand what Lucas was trying to achieve. But the real tension began when Lucas started changing fundamental aspects of the character, including his name. Originally called Luke Starkiller, Hamill wasn't thrilled when Lucas made the switch to Skywalker, and he openly questioned the filmmaker's dialogue choices. The young actor found himself constantly battling what he saw as unnatural, cringe-worthy lines that no human being would actually say. The breaking point came when Hamill desperately pleaded with Lucas to change one particularly embarrassing piece of dialogue. "Who talks like this, George? This is really not fair, because you know we're the ones who are going to get vegetables thrown at us, not you." Despite these frustrations, Hamill later defended Lucas against harsh critics, admitting, "I have issues with George, but I love that man." It's a complex relationship that perfectly captures the push and pull dynamic between Lucas and his stars. 6. Alec Guinness. When George Lucas approached Sir Alec Guinness for Star Wars,
George Lucas phoned me and said, he's like Annabelle, he's very diffident. And
he was courting one of Britain's most distinguished actors. Academy Award winner, Knight of the Realm, and star of classics like The Bridge on the River Kwai, Guinness brought serious credibility to what many saw as a silly space movie. But that credibility came with brutal honesty. From the moment Guinness read the script, he was appalled. Although the dialogue was appalling, there was something about it which made you go on turning the pages. He privately called the entire project fairy tale rubbish. But somehow Lucas had hooked him with the story's underlying appeal. The veteran actor didn't keep his criticism private either. In letters to friends, Guinness wrote scathingly about the production. "New rubbish dialogue reaches me every other day on wedges of pink paper, and none of it makes my character clear or even bearable." He constantly rewrote his own lines on set to make them more natural. Money, however, spoke louder than artistic concerns. The doubled salary offer and 2.25% of the profits were too tempting to refuse. That decision made him incredibly wealthy, earning an estimated $95 million by his death, and incredibly regretful. Years later, Guinness remained bitter. "Apart from the money, I regret having embarked on the film. For a man who valued his artistic legacy above all else, being remembered primarily as Obi-Wan Kenobi rather than his acclaimed dramatic work was a source of lifelong frustration. 5. Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford has never been one to sugarcoat his opinions, and when it came to George Lucas's dialogue, the future Han Solo didn't hold back.
I love George. I loved Stephen. More grateful than you could imagine for all of the opportunities. Got to grow up.
What started as creative feedback quickly escalated into one of the most quoted insults in Hollywood history. During filming, Ford became increasingly frustrated with Lucas's clunky, unnatural dialogue. Finally, he snapped and delivered a line that would become legendary. "You can type this shit, but you can't say it. Move your mouth when you're typing." The comment was delivered straight to Lucas's face in front of the entire crew. Ford later clarified that it was meant as good-natured ribbing between collaborators, but the underlying criticism was deadly serious. He genuinely believed that Lucas had no understanding of how real people actually spoke. The wooden, exposition-heavy lines felt more like instruction manuals than human conversation. What's remarkable is Lucas's reaction, or lack thereof. The filmmaker admitted he wasn't bothered by Ford's criticism and acknowledged he wasn't the best at dialogue writing. Lucas had always been more interested in visual storytelling than snappy one-liners. Lucas defended his approach, explaining that most people didn't understand the style of Star Wars and that his dialogue was intentionally designed to move the plot forward rather than sound poetic. Ford's bluntness, however, became fuel for years of criticism about Lucas's writing abilities, especially during the much-maligned prequel trilogy. 4. James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones possessed one of the most recognizable voices in entertainment history, but when it came to Darth Vader, George Lucas wanted complete creative control, even over the man behind the mask.
I had made a decision to move ahead on the next Star Wars series, and we were starting to do that.
For The Empire Strikes Back, Jones was excited to experiment with Vader's voice, hoping to explore new dimensions of the character. But Lucas immediately shut down any creative input, telling him, "We don't know what we did right on A New Hope, so let's just try what we did." It was a crushing blow to an actor eager to develop his craft. The rigid control extended beyond just vocal direction. Jones never considered his work on Star Wars to be real acting, describing it as little more than a day's work for $7,000. Lucas had stripped away any artistic interpretation, reducing one of America's greatest voices to what Jones himself called special effects. Making matters worse, director Irvin Kershner had given Jones a tape of himself performing Vader's dialogue, which Jones found scary as hell, more menacing than his own performance. Yet Lucas refused to let Jones incorporate any of that energy or experimentation. For an actor who had commanded stages on Broadway and earned critical acclaim in films, being treated as merely a technical tool rather than a creative collaborator was deeply frustrating. Lucas's micromanagement had turned artistic expression into mechanical reproduction. 3. Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher never minced words, and when it came to George Lucas, her sharp wit cut deeper than a lightsaber.
Who didn't know was George. We kept it from him because we wanted to see what his face looked like when it changed.
What started as a teenage actress grateful for her big break evolved into decades of public roasting that left Lucas squirming in his director's chair. At Lucas's own AFI Life Achievement Award ceremony, Fisher delivered a speech that stunned the audience. "George is a sadist, but like any abused child wearing a metal bikini chained to a giant slug about to die, I keep coming back for more." The room gasped, but Fisher was just getting started. Her biggest grievance wasn't the infamous gold bikini, it was business. Fisher revealed that at 19, she had made a catastrophic mistake. "I signed away my likeness for free." In those days, there was no such thing as a likeness. No one could have known the extent of the franchise. While Lucas became a billionaire, Fisher earned nothing from Princess Leia merchandise. The merchandising nightmare haunted her. "Lately, I feel like I'm Minnie Mouse. The identity of Princess Leia so eclipses any other identity that I've ever had." She discovered Princess Leia cupcake toppers, socks, even a strain of marijuana named after her character. Fisher also attacked Lucas's wardrobe hypocrisy, noting how Natalie Portman got elaborate costumes while she was told there was no underwear in space. It was vintage Fisher, brutally honest and hilariously devastating. 2. Peter Cushing. Peter Cushing was the epitome of British professionalism, a distinguished horror film legend who brought gravitas to every role. But his experience with George Lucas on Star Wars became a masterclass in polite suffering.
Said, "You got any other ideas?" And I said, "Well, I've been thinking about kind of a space adventure, Saturday matinee serial kind of movie."
That would haunt him throughout filming. The nightmare began with something as simple as footwear. Lucas's costume department provided Cushing with military boots that were far too small for his size 12 feet, causing him excruciating pain during every scene. Any other actor might have demanded proper equipment, but Cushing was too much of a gentleman to cause a fuss. Instead, he made a humble request to Lucas. "Do you think you could shoot me from the waist upwards?" The pain was so severe that Cushing began wearing slippers between takes, leading him to joke years later, "That is why Moff Tarkin was so hostile all the time. His feet were killing him." The physical discomfort was matched by intellectual confusion. Cushing admitted he never understood what a Grand Moff actually was, joking that it sounded like something which infests a clothes closet, and describing Tarkin as a deeply cross and unpleasant gentleman. Lucas had given him technical jargon he couldn't comprehend, and dialogue he struggled to deliver naturally. Looking at the research, I can replace the Disney executives with another celebrity who had documented issues with George Lucas. Let me search for more information about other notable conflicts. Let me search for more information about other celebrities who had issues with George Lucas. Based on the research, I don't see strong evidence of Samuel L. 1. David Prowse. The most devastating betrayal in George Lucas's career didn't involve corporate executives or difficult actors.
Out in the middle of nowhere, that was very naive about what was going on in the world, young.
It involved the man who physically brought his greatest villain to life. David Prowse's relationship with Lucas deteriorated from creative partnership to bitter exile, culminating in one of Hollywood's most brutal blacklistings. The trouble began in 1978 when Prowse accidentally spoiled The Empire Strikes Back's biggest secret. During a public appearance, he revealed that Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker are hooked up in a do-or-die lightsaber duel when Luke learns that Darth is, in fact, his long-lost father. Lucas was furious. This was 2 years before the film's release. The leaks continued. A year before Return of the Jedi, Prowse was blamed for another devastating spoiler when a UK tabloid leaked that Darth Vader would die in the film. This time, Lucas had enough. The final blow came in 2010 when Lucas banned Prowse from all official Star Wars events. When Prowse inquired why, he was told he had burnt too many bridges. No other reason given. The man who made Darth Vader physically intimidating was erased from the franchise's official history, a victim of Lucas's unforgiving nature and obsession with secrecy. From dialogue disasters to devastating betrayals, George Lucas proved that even creating beloved franchises comes with a dark side. What do you think? Justified criticism or Hollywood drama? Subscribe for more behind-the-scenes secrets.